While the NBA offseason is at a slow point, I really want to go to the Milwaukee Bucks, specifically Giannis Antetokounmpo. We all know that he is among the top 3 players in the NBA. We all know that he's one of the most dominating forces in the NBA. But after what we saw in the first round, being the first seed in the Eastern Conference, it brought more concerns regarding his play style, and that is something that he needs to fix in order for the Bucks to win more championships. Although he is a superstar, although he is a dominant force, but the certain areas of his game is what is holding him back, not only as a player, but for the Bucks. And I think we need to address this. And so, in this video, we finna discuss the main issue of Giannis's game. But first, A-Man, say man, this is the A-Man Show back at it again for more banger content. Make sure y'all subscribe. I post NBA and NFL content. Y'all know what to do. Turn on post notifications so that way y'all don't miss anything new from me. Anyways, stay tuned and let's get the video started. Okay, so the Milwaukee Bucks in the regular season were the consensus favorites to win this year's championship. This roster was viewed as a team with no virtual weaknesses. They have the best defense in the NBA. They also have the depth, the spacing. They also have the MVP frontrunner in Giannis. And they have a good but rather questionable coach in Mike Budenholzer. Mind you, they done this without Chris Middleton missing more than half the season. And once Middleton gets up on his feet during the last 13 games of the regular season, the Bucks will finish the regular season with a 59-23 record, which is the best in the NBA, and will have the first seed in the Eastern Conference. Like I said about the Bucks, this was a team that was poised and the biggest favorites to win this year's championship. And going to the playoffs, it believes that the Bucks are going to go for a cakewalk in the first round. Whoever team makes it out of the playing spot. And that team happened to be the Miami Heat. Now for the Miami Heat, the Heat struggled all year not because of injuries, but poor play, primarily in the offensive end, as they were bottom 3 in 3-point percentage, let alone ranked 25th in offensive rating. Although they made up for it for their defense, but not as much for them to be a top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. And even in the play-in tournament, they lost a game against the Atlanta Hawks and then won against the Bulls in a tight close game to finish the regular season as the 8th seed. And for the Miami Heat to go through all of that just to be a 8th seed, we knew that Miami is going to get stomped by the Bucks, or at least we thought so. But it became the complete opposite as Miami not only beat the first seeded Bucks, but closed them out in 5 games. And yes, there's context behind all of this. Firstly, Giannis missed 2 games due to a back contusion. Yes, it did play a part for the Miami Heat to take advantage of, but there are many important factors that led the Bucks getting almost swept by an 8th seeded Heat. Giannis in Game 4 to 5 absolutely choked a 20-point lead in back-to-back games. They allowed Jimmy Butler to heat up during the 4th quarter in both games, and most importantly for Giannis, especially in Game 5, Giannis set the record for the most missed free throws in a playoff game with 13. And don't give me that fucking bullshit on, oh, Giannis almost had a 40-piece in that game. In the 4th quarter, Giannis shot 1 from 9 from the field, and although in overtime, Giannis shot 2 from 3 from the field, having Giannis play so poorly in the 4th quarter, the Bucks should have forced a Game 6. And looking at the actual game, especially in the 4th quarter, the Miami Heat, for the majority of the time, had Bam Adebayo alone on the post defensively. And Giannis keep on driving to the rim over and over again, and Giannis just can't finish over Adebayo. And based on that stretch, Giannis' go-to move is drive to the rim, and another move, kick out to open man. Rarely go for a jumper, but it is too inconsistent. And that's the problem. Giannis does not have an adequate enough mid-range game nor post game that he can consistently use in his arsenal. And it's not just this series, but against the Celtics in the 2nd round, when Giannis infamously took the Celtics to 7 games without Chris Middleton, but even in that series, even when Giannis was putting up 38 game, his shooting efficiency waned, and it's mostly had to do with Al Horford guarding him the whole way. Giannis will bring the ball up to the court and most of the time and have him play isolation ball to try to drive towards the rim and score. But once it's halted by Al Horford, Giannis really doesn't have anything in his game for him to score other than play bully ball. When Giannis was guarded by Al Horford, he shot 31% from the field. And it's not just Al Horford. Let's go all the way back to the bubble against the Miami Heat in the semis. Giannis averaged a measly 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists on 50% shooting. You know who was his primary defender? Yeah, that guy guarded him on the photo, Bam Adebayo. And even looking in the year prior where the Bucks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals and was up 2-0 at one point, the Raptors made a key adjustment by putting the wall, having Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka on the post and Kawhi Leonard at the perimeter. Giannis only averaged 20 points on 43% shooting. So throughout his playoff career, the guy has struggled against teams with elite defensive big men. And the stats show it, and all because the guy does not have an effective mid-range and post-game. No wonder he had all of these playoff disappointments is because of that. And that's why I really don't think Giannis is the greatest European player of all time, and why I think it's Jokic. It's because of his vast offensive skill set, especially what we've seen in last year's postseason, where the guy was virtually unguardable even against elite defensive big men such as Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, and Bam Adebayo, and haven't had any playoff disappointments throughout his career because of that. Meanwhile, with Giannis' inadequacies as far as his mid-range and post-game goes, the guy has that blunder against the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2019, 2020 against the Heat, and in 2023, this year, against, once again, the Miami Heat. And sure, he did win a championship in 21, but there are many factors that Giannis and the Bucks took advantage of. Firstly, yes, they smacked the Miami Heat fair and square in the first round, but in the second round, hadn't Kyrie Harden gotten injured, they would have beaten them in 5, and in the Eastern Conference Finals went up against a Hawks team that has no business being in the conference finals. Aside from Bam Adebayo, who was the defenders that guarded the post against Giannis? Blake Griffin, Clint Capella, who was not the same elite rim protector that he was in Houston, and DeAndre Ayton, who is a solid defender, but no means an elite defender. But once Giannis goes up against Al Horford and Bam Adebayo, while fully guarding him, the guy struggles. And yes, during that playoff run 2 years ago, when Giannis played more in the 5, when Brook Lopez got injured during that year, he was getting set up more in pick and rolls, and he actually thrived in that position throughout the playoffs. And obviously that resulted in winning them a championship. But still, Giannis was defended by average to above average defenders for the majority of the playoffs that year. But against guys like Al Horford and Bam Adebayo, while being the primary ball handler during the last 2 playoffs, like I said, he struggled. Although Mike Budenholzer is part of the blame, as he did not use Giannis in a great position to thrive, but then again, coaches who can set up better plays, let alone put Giannis in a better position, they can only do so much. But in order for the problem to be fully resolved, Giannis needs to develop a consistent mid-range and post-game, so that way Giannis can score over elite defenders like Al Horford, Bam Adebayo, and many more. It is now mandatory for Giannis to develop a consistent jumper, because slowly going coast to coast and bullying defenders towards the rim is no longer that effective, especially in the playoffs. And what we've seen in the first round must be a wake-up call on Giannis, especially him missing 13 straight free throws in Game 5. With a stain like that in the first round, and by the way, yes, it is a stain on Giannis' career. Blowing 20-point leads in back-to-back games, including 2 abysmal fourth-quarter performances without Tyler Hero, and without Giannis, the Bucks not only got a game, but smacked the Heat in Game 2. So this had to be a wake-up call for Giannis to expand his game. Over the last 2 seasons, the man went from shooting 45% from 10 to 16 feet last year to this year shooting just 35% from that area. And in the playoffs, it gets worse. In the 2022 playoffs, he shot just 31% from the mid-range area. And last year's playoffs, he shot incredibly awful, 14% from that area. So you can tell that Giannis, to this day, does not have a consistent mid-range game. And also, he needs to improve on his free throw shooting as well. Even when he won a championship, that issue still remained with him not being a dynamic scorer. And over the years, that came to bite him on the ass. Honestly, what happened in the first round is really a good thing for Giannis, because now, like he said in the press conference, it's a learning experience, not a failure. This remains true to the fact that Giannis has learned that simply trying to bully everyone to the rim is not as effective in the playoffs as compared to the regular season, and he will need to expand his game in order for him to stop getting exploited in the playoffs. And this is similar to what LeBron had to go through after the 2011 finals, where the Mavericks exploited his weaknesses, such as him not having an effective post game as well as having a pretty weak jumper. But once LeBron started diversifying his game to where he can actually hit from anywhere from the court, you know the rest is history. And this is literally what Giannis is going through right now. It's mandatory that Giannis needs to diversify his game in order for the Bucks to continue on winning championships, because sure, you can have Adrian Griffin set Giannis up perfectly, but that problem is only going to mitigate, not fully solving it, unless Giannis develops a mid-range game and post game, and if he doesn't, then it could prevent him from winning more championships, therefore prevent him towards adding more to his legacy. And that's the video. There's a lot more about the issues with the Bucks, especially their cap space and depth, but this is solely a Giannis problem, and I really want to delve towards that issue in this video. But anyways, guys, let me know in the comment section below about this Giannis video. Feel free to subscribe for more NBA and NFL content. Road to 1,000K subs. Turn on post notifications, and that is all. Stay litty. This is the A-Man Show. Sign out.